You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey, Shaun Priest, welcome to another Double Tap. How are you?
I am a beautiful, thank you, Stephen Scott. I'm actually... Do you know what? Do you really want to know? Because I've got a bit of a story. I don't know how much time we've got.
We have all the time in the world, Shaun.
I'm
for
so
you,
glad.
all the time in the world. Oh, hang on. No, Mr. F says we have exactly 56 minutes. So get on with it.
Okay, I'm just saying, I am feeling full of the force this morning.
Oh.
I took the dog out, as that's how my stories always start. I took the dog out, and you know what? You know that feeling you get? That feeling when there's a car in front of me parked on the pavement. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That feeling, that sixth sense, that spidery, blind Spider-Man sense.
Kind of freaky, isn't it?
It is. But you know what? I'm relying on it more and more and more, especially this morning when I took him out. It was dark this morning. I had my Ray-Bans on, OVs. And
Pitch black, sunglasses on.
On the way to the field, I dodged like 3 or 4 cars just by, I sensed something, right? It was, I was sort of impressing myself. I was, look at me. I'm a superhero. And then coming back, it was the same thing. I sensed something. This was the other side of the road. I sensed something in front of me.
I sense parked cars.
I see dead cars everywhere.
I see dead cars.
I felt, I put my stick out a little bit more. There's nothing there. It's let me down. You know, it's not 100%. I will admit
Terrible.
that. And then took 2 steps and fell over a bin that was right in front of me.
Oh, it was a bin.
So I was kind of right. And then also annoyed with myself because I fell over a bin.
It was an extremely small 2-wheeled car.
Yes, exactly.
With no engine.
It's weird though. I'm still getting used to this this sixth sense.
This
that we
blind
get.
thing.
It is.
It is freaky though, and it's funny because we used to talk a lot about echolocation. Remember the amount of shouting matches we used to have?
Yes.
Well, weirdly, the weirdest things that cause riots here on Double Tap.
Yes.
But I remember having that conversation, and I remember Negative Julian getting in touch and getting very annoyed about it, and there was a whole context to that. But ultimately, this idea that we as blind people should just learn more stuff all the time and just continually just add on more skills, to make ourselves, more capable in society. And that's what kind of sparked the whole argument. But, what's kind of weird about
training.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's, I think as well, what kind of kicked off that argument was the idea that, you were kind of less than if you didn't do all that stuff. And I hate all that.
Or that everyone was able or capable to learn something like that. I'm not still not convinced that everyone is able to learn echolocation to a level where it becomes useful. But
there is something, and it may be echolocation, it may just be spatial awareness, I don't know, but you can I am more aware now of gaps. I'm using my hearing in a way that I never used it before. It's not special, it's not super hearing.
Well, does it improve?
It doesn't get better. We just use it better.
Well, yeah, it's definitely something
it.
like that, right? Let's not pretend this is some sort of supernatural, psychic ability or anything. No. This is something about, I don't know what sense is it. It's not just hearing, although that is part of it. There's also that you can feel that something is nearby.
Yeah, but don't you feel the cane does a lot of this as well? So the cane will give you so much information. And it's funny, I kind of knew this for years, but obviously I had more vision then. And I was using that vision because if you've got useful vision, you will use it. Of course you will.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good or bad it is. You'll still aim to use it, even if it's. I remember the worst case being like, almost felt like someone was pushing my eye out from the back with the amount of pressure I was putting on myself to try and see something. When I relaxed from that, and the Meta Ray-Bans, or I'd say Meta Ray-Bans, but they're very good and they're my current pair of sunglasses, but previously any sunglasses would have been doing the same job. It kind of dulled the vision down. And that used to irritate me at the start because I felt like it was almost diminishing what was left. But now I feel the opposite. And I know some people feel that way still, but I feel now with my level of vision that it's becoming so difficult to trust the vision.
Yeah.
To be certain of what I'm actually looking at or certain of what I'm seeing, that I tend to feel it's much easier to almost, and I say this to my wife all the time, and she goes, "What are you talking about?" That's like most things I think we talk about. So what are you talking about?
Like every listener listening to our show.
Yeah, listening right now. But there is something about just turning your eyes off And if you've, and actually, I had it said much more eloquently by a good friend of ours, Red Sale, who presents My Life in Books here on AMI Audio.
Yes.
He said, I've gone non-visual. And as soon as he said that, I thought, that's brilliant. I love that. I've gone non-visual, meaning I'm not relying on the vision. There may be some vision, but you're not relying on it.
Well, you can't. As you said, I think that's
right.
Perfect.
That's exactly it. It's coming to terms with that. Yeah, it's coming to terms with that, though. Yeah, that's the bit that's difficult. But no, there is something about it, because when I go out with the cane now, I can tell, for example, where I walk to my mum's house, the route I go, I kind of go round, there's like a back of a club that's near the house, so we go around the back of this club. So it's quite a big building. So I kind of go into the car park area, which is always empty. They never really use it except at night. So during the day, it's empty. I go in there, I kind of walk through, and I can kind of navigate myself around it just by hearing. I know it's just by hearing, because I'm not using any vision to see it. In fact, it's even worse when the sun is at full brightness or low in the sky. It just floods me. So it's I'm kind of, eyes are tight,
is it
closed.
Just hearing, or is it?
Also... I look like I'm crying because my photophobia has kicked in.
Is it also the sort of air disturbance? I know that sounds
that's right. That's
pretentious, but it does say that you can feel that it's still, if you like. The air is still. It's strange, but it's a definite thing. I was a little bit skeptical.
Don't you find you're doing that more because of electric cars? Like even crossing the road now, I'm very wary. I mean, cyclists, it's impossible. There's just no way, unless you can hear them coming. Yeah, you can sort of. It would need to be a very quiet road. They would need to be ringing their bell. You wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
But with a car, you can feel it to some degree under your feet. But if you can't feel it and you can't hear it, the only thing left you've got is the air. So, for us, there are two horrible experiences, which is snow. Terrible to be out in, because that really just dull. That's like that soundproofs the street, basically.
I know, and the cane it gets hard work. Yeah,
and it's hard to navigate with the cane, and also wind, because wind it just destroys that sense of hearing. You can't hear anything anymore, because you can't hear what's around you. You can't use that sense in that way. So, yeah, things people probably don't think about. How would snow and wind affect a blind person? But there you go.
And yes, electric cars. As blind Phil Collins once said, he can feel it coming through the air tonight. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. What a way to wrap up that segment.
Have we not got like a serious thing to do on this show today? Like, we don't got work to do here. Right, look, today on the show, we are going to be hearing from Mike Buckley, of course, CEO of Be My Eyes, Bryan Bashin, the chair of Be My Eyes. Both of them will be joining us here on the show to talk all about the big news.
What big news?
Oh, did you not hear?
I missed something.
You did the interview, so I kind of hope you knew the story before you jumped in. Because last night you got a chance to catch up with the two of them. We're going to hear that interview shortly. But before that, we're getting more details on the Orion glasses. These were the new augmented reality glasses that were announced on stage. And it was interesting. I saw a tweet last night, and I kind of see the perspective. I thought I'd bring it in because I think it's interesting. A perspective basically saying, can you imagine Tim Cook getting up on stage and saying, hey, we've got this idea, we've kind of created it, it's not really ready for market yet, we don't know if it'll even make it, certainly, it's a prototype, fingers crossed, and we'll let you know when we've finished it. What would happen to Apple in that moment? And I think that's a fair question, actually. We wouldn't let Apple away with that, but with Meta yesterday, I said, actually, do you know what? That's not a bad thing. I think I quite like the honesty.
I was going to say, is that a criticism or is that a positive? That they're willing to say, this is what we're working on. Yeah. You could be cynical about that, I suppose, just, trying to keep a Meta in the race, I suppose. But no, I thought it was good. And actually on that point, I thought the whole event had a really nice atmosphere to it. Yeah, I was quite surprised.
I liked it. I liked the honesty. I liked the rawness of it.
Yeah,
I kind of missed that with Apple events. I kind of missed that. I know a lot of people think that we'll go back to the days of Apple doing live events, unless they have something incredible to announce that they really do not want to leak or allow any leaks to happen. Then I could maybe see a live demo or a live event. But I think they've gone past that now.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Well, they've spent all that money on Apple TV. They've got all those production people. They've got all these fancy, people that can make all these fancy videos. They're not going to go back to making a stage event.
It's incredibly polished, and that's what Apple wants, right? So,
and look, for us, it's great because that means they're audio described.
Yes, that was true. That was missing.
Yeah, I missed that. And of course, it was live. I don't know if you've been watching in the UK. Apologies to my international audience who may not be watching this program. We've got to say da 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 da.
Oh,
hey,
we can't play the jingle anymore. Did we get told off?
I've got it somewhere here, but I have no idea what it is, so forget it. But Chris McCausland on there, blind comedian, he is dancing up a storm on that show, and I didn't get a chance to see it on Saturday night when it was broadcast. I watched it later. And the benefit of waiting a couple of days is they have the audio described version. I think it probably goes up quite quickly, but the difference with that show, Strictly Come Dancing on BBC, is the audio description is live because the show is live.
So good. It's funny. She gets so into it at the times I've heard it. And it adds something extra. It's like watching it with a friend or something. She loves it.
I love it. I just love watching it. I love it does bring it to life because up until that point, I think it was last year they brought in audio description, and prior to that, it was just a pointless show for us to watch. I just didn't see any value in it, and I kind of felt it was one of those occasions where I'd go around to mum's house, whatever, and I'd feel quite excluded by it, because there was nothing I could see on screen that made sense. And the other problem is, I kind of wish they had like a fixed camera option. Because there's so much movement going on. I don't mean by the dancers, I mean by the camera. No, not the dancers. The cameras, they're like swinging around and overhead and back and forward.
That's the thing, right? You got 3 minutes basically before the AD, 3 minutes of a live band, which I always quite liked the live band actually.
Yes, so did I. Yeah.
That was it. It was just the audio. And I agree. It wasn't really inclusive. But I think they've done a fantastic job with the live AD.
Oh, it's just been so good. But anyway, Chris is doing amazing on it. So, keep it up, Chris. I
so funny as well.
I don't want to say he'll win it because I'll jinx him.
Well, you've said it.
No, I didn't. I said I don't want to say it.
Well, don't say it at all.
I'm not saying it. I said I don't want to say it.
Chris for the win.
No, don't say that because
he's got it. He's got it in the bag.
But listen, do you know what's good? They're not treating him differently, and I like this.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. The judges are honest. They're quite upfront with him, and I love that actually. It has a very natural feel, the whole thing. And it's kind of like they're not going, oh, look at the blind guys, that's so amazing. The only comment they made, I think, on Saturday night was something like, goodness, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that particular move because, I'd have been terrified to get to do that. Exactly. And well, didn't go that far, but I kind of felt it wasn't patronizing. And I really liked it.
But you know what? You've got to recognize that.
Yeah.
The disability at some point. It's not like even if they didn't mention it at all throughout the entire thing, then I think that would be a little bit weird anyway.
Well, it kind of gets into that thing of, it kind of is impressive. I mean, I'm impressed by it. I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
He's having to retain so much information and he's got no visual cues at all. Yeah. Everything is based on sound. Now, it's not, and I know the people who go to the advocates to jump up and dance, say, well, of course we can do it, stamp our feet and all that.
Oh,
I get it.
I can't dance.
I get it, but I can't do it, and I don't know if I could do it. And I think good for him for trying it, especially on national television every
Chris.
Saturday night.
Well done.
So good luck with it, Chris, and keep it up, and we'll look forward to chatting with you when it's all done, if you can breathe, because you sounded a bit out of breath.
I love that as well.
Saturday night.
Way to represent the middle-aged man, Chris. I am absolutely knackered.
We are all Chris McCausland here. Listen, I mentioned the Orion glasses. So yeah, we're getting more information now coming out about how these actually work. And there's a lot of interest here. I mentioned Colin Hughes yesterday, a good friend of ours who has muscular dystrophy. And he's been tweeting a lot about the excitement he has around these glasses, in particular the way they work. Now, The Verge, the online magazine, tech magazine, they have been hard at work, actually getting hands-on with this and actually, showing us how they work. And Alex Heath is a journalist who has put together an exclusive look for The Verge at how these Orion glasses work. He also sat down with Mark Zuckerberg as well after the event, and he had about, I think 1 or 2 hours to play with the glasses and get a sense of how it works. And Alex and the wonderful people at The Verge have given us the rights to play this clip from this video. The entire video is about an hour long, and we'll link to it in the show notes. You must go check it out. We will link to it on our show notes, and you can go check it out on the Verge website. This is from YouTube, and this is a clip of how the glasses will work, the Orion glasses.
I was one of the first people outside of Meta to try Orion. For about 2 hours, I used the glasses to browse the web, play games, and video call with people through Messenger. Oh, and Mark Zuckerberg beat me in Pong. Look. This is going to be the whole interview. It's just an hour of us going we can't. Orion exists in 3 parts. The glasses themselves, a neural wristband for controlling them with finger movements, and a wireless compute puck that offloads app logic from the glasses to help improve battery and reduce heat. The way you navigate the interface is through eye and hand tracking, voice, and most importantly, the neural wristband. It's hard to compare this experience to a laptop or phone, but in the simplest of terms, your eyes or hands act as the mouse, and you click by pinching your fingers together. If you've ever used the Vision Pro, you'll get how the eye tracking works pretty quickly. I want to focus on the wristband for a second because it's truly one of the most magical experiences I've had with a piece of new technology. And I think the world will be seeing it in the wild even before the commercial successor to Orion is released. It's about the size of a Fitbit and uses electromyography to interpret neural signals and translate them into the input for the glasses. The main gestures it recognizes are pinching your index finger with your thumb to select, pinching your middle finger and thumb to invoke the main menu, and swiping up or down with your thumb against your closed palm to scroll. There's haptic feedback on the band to let you know when it recognizes a gesture, which is a helpful signal that made me quickly comfortable with using it.
Again, huge thanks to Alex Heath and the wonderful team at The Verge for letting us play that in. That clip, part of a much longer, hour-long interview with Mark Zuckerberg and a deeper dive into those Orion glasses. And I think it's very interesting because, Colin has been very excited by this because of this neural wristband and the capability that that could offer to someone like him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we're seeing... I keep coming back to, excuse me, I keep coming back to VR and saying, yeah, it's so visual. I understand that we need to fight for the right to be able to access this technology, but would I actually use it for anything? But when you look at the amount of ways to access it, interact with this technology, it's actually really interesting. Eye tracking, gestures, voice. You can even Bluetooth keyboards. I don't know about the Project Orion, but I'm talking about in general. You can add Bluetooth controllers to it. And, this adds another level of the what do they call it? Band.
Neural wristband. And it's not easy to say, I must admit.
No, I want to say Neuralink. That's why. Yeah.
That's something else.
The wristband, it's just another way to access it. And again, this could be useful not only on this platform, right? This is all ways of human interactings with technology. Mm-hmm. I just think it could lead to other things. Really cool. The more I hear about this Project Orion, the more excited I get.
You know what? It's more accessibility. I use this phrase a lot, many doors, same room. And essentially that's what this is, and
exactly.
the more ways we can create input methods for devices, the better. Because, the thing that I think people who don't live with a disability often live with this idea that it'll never touch them. Disability is just something for other people. And I think that's possibly a little bit of denial from on their part.
Now, for 30 years, yes.
Well, it's denial by design in some ways, because our brains are probably tricked to thinking that the last thing you want to be is disabled, right? You don't want to have a disability. But the reality is a lot of us will face that in our lives, and it could be visual, it could be hearing, it could be motor, it could be anything. Yeah. It could be a combination of all of them. And if technology is created now with the ability for anybody with any impairment or otherwise to be able to use this technology, then it future-proofs it for all of us. So it helps people who today might never need that function. And when I tell people about the iPhone, voiceover's just built in. It's just part of the system. It's not a separate thing. It's not a separate box I have to attach to my iPhone. It's just built into every iPhone. And when I say to people, go into your settings, go into accessibility, there it is. And they go, wow. And then they start going through the list and go, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
It's not a locked box that you can only go into with your disability pass. You don't have to scan a QR code to get into accessibility, right? You just go in and you can have a play around. Make the text bigger. Change the contrast settings. Make it work better for you. Why sit and struggle with tiny text on your phone? These are the things that can really make the difference. And it kind of breaks the barrier down between what people see as accessibility and actually, and I used to remember, I think years ago, we used to talk about the word accessibility. Was it the right word? Should we think about it more as personalization? But then I've kind of come and gone on that one, because I think you got to be careful, because there are things in accessibility and under that category, and I'll use Braille as an example, switch control being another, that, they are very specific things that need attention. If we categorized everything as personalization, this is why I get annoyed to think about the whole specialist discussion around special needs and special requirements, because there are special requirements. There are things that are not in the mainstream. If you just take away that layer and say, right, it has to just be, technology, and that's it. Don't call it special needs. Don't call it this. Don't call it. Then suddenly it's a case of, well, when you ask for that deeper level of accessibility, it may not be there because no one's considered it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's that important when we're talking about on technology, as in how you arrange the items in settings. If you have it all grouped under accessibility, or maybe you should have just a group called interactions, and in there is things like voiceover and Braille, and as well as keyboards.
That's a good point, yeah.
Keyboard settings. But does it actually matter? I mean, people have still got to go in, and lots of people are just scared off by settings anyway, never touch it. So I'm not sure it's that important. There is a sort of philosophical discussion about where it should be. But
I want to have it. But before that, let's get to our interview today, because this is a fantastic conversation. You had a chance to catch up with Mike Buckley, CEO of Be My Eyes, and Bryan Bashin, the chair of Be My Eyes. Now, the question is, did you wear your Meta Ray-Bans for this interview? That's the question I want to know.
We will find out.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, right. Well, let's roll it.
Okay, so joining us now is Mike Buckley and Bryan Bashin from, of course, Be My Eyes. Welcome to Double Tap, guys. How you doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Good. Now, you've been a little bit busy, haven't you?
Oh, my
You could
goodness.
say you've caused a stir. There's no denying it. You must be absolutely everywhere. Everyone wants to talk to you at the minute. So I suppose we should say it. Everyone's got to start here. Why? Let's go back to the story of Be My Eyes and the connection with the Meta Ray-Bans. Just give us a quick summary of where we're at so far.
The why is our mission is to connect our community, right? And make the world more accessible. And Shaun, you know better than anybody, because you and Stephen have been talking about this for, I don't know, years, certainly months, but maybe even years, about the need for a hands-free device to enable better, faster, easier connection to the world. And so that's the why. It's about our mission, and it's about listening to our community. Look, we make mistakes like every other company, but I think one of the things we try to do well and be really consistent on is listening to the desires of the people who are using our services. And that's what this is about. And so we banged the doors down at Meta to get this partnership announced. And I'll let Bryan talk about it a little bit more in a second. But the thing I want to underscore is that this is a major joint long-term development deal that we have with Meta, and the volunteer ability on the glasses is just step one. Bryan can tell you some of the hellish stories about our engineer to engineer work, but I want this viewed as just a moment in time, and as a first step. We have a lot of work to do to make this a truly phenomenal experience and to expand what this means. But Bryan and I and our founder, Hens, and our team and Meta could not be more excited.
Yeah. And just to add to the why, I mean, as a blind guy, I want to do stuff in the world. And the easier it is to do stuff, the happier I am. And yeah, I've got the latest and the greatest iPhone here. And yet try to turn over an omelet holding that, or try to hang a picture on a wall correctly, or drill a hole, or all these things. Try to move through space when your hand is tied up with a dog or a cane. The Meta glasses, I'm wearing a pair right now, are fantastic in giving you both hands. And with that, we can act in the world. And it's something that we've had requests from, and the blind members of Be My Eyes have said for so long, we need to have a hands-free solution. And when by happenstance, Meta worked with Luxottica and got these glasses and realized we just may be able to bend this technology to blind people's uses. It's not the technology that we developed from scratch, but we had such enthusiastic and willing partners at Meta, and the result is something you're going to see rolled out in the next few weeks.
Wow, there's so many points here I want to pick up on. Firstly, how did you manage to break down Meta's door? I mean, so many other companies have been, looking for that platform because, as you say, rightfully so, the Meta Ray-Bans seem like the perfect choice, really. Hands-free, camera, which is great. Controls are great. Look great. I should mention, by the way, for anyone who's watching, that we all have Meta Ray-Ban glasses on during this interview, which is slightly strange. But, yeah, I mean, everyone I know that's got that pair absolutely loves them. And of course, it makes total sense. But what made Be My Eyes so special to Meta? What made them open their door to you?
So, truth, I worked at Meta when it was called Facebook, when it was called Facebook a really long time ago. And so I do have some good relationships there. And I do know Mark, and I do know the CTO Boz. But truth is that when I first proposed this, they said no. And Shaun, Stephen, you and Bryan, you guys know me. I usually don't accept no very well.
Yeah.
And I kept asking and kept trying to persuade. And I think ultimately that what Meta realized was that there's kind of a rapidly growing and vibrant community here that utilizes Be My Eyes. And I also think as we passed more and more feedback to senior folks at Meta about how much enthusiasm and desire there was amongst the blind and low vision community, I think that's what really tipped the scales, is the community's excitement. Bryan, I don't know if you have a perspective to add to that.
Just that what we found is a group of engineers at Meta, once Mike had brokered that first entree, who were just thrilled. A happy day in an engineer's life is solving a problem that needs solving. And man, there were many. I mean, it looks simple, but you have Bluetooth connections, cameras, optics, multiple softwares that need to talk to each other, audio, all of this. And there was such an intensive and sort of enthusiastic sprint with the Meta connection. We wound up coming to know and like each other. Platoons of Meta engineers flew to our engineering headquarters in Copenhagen multiple times, or we met some of them in the United States. And Mike and I have been in headquarters. We found a joint mission that is just to do some good in the world, and that's the happy place to be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it sounds fantastic, but we all know, engineers, as you mentioned, really thrive on trying to solve a problem, but actually trying to sell the idea itself higher up is sometimes difficult. But so you think it was the feedback, and it was actually the comments from the community that actually swung this, as well as your perseverance.
I think that's a big one. And I think Zuck was transparent about the fact that it caught Meta by surprise how popular the glasses became overall in all communities, right? If you recall, the first iteration of these, the Ray-Ban Stories, did not sell well. I read somewhere that they sold only 300,000 units. But then the next iteration kind of took on a life of its own. And so I think the overall marketplace adoption of this and love of this product got their attention. And I do believe that like our community's enthusiasm had a great deal to do with it, Shaun. Yeah, I do.
And maybe two other things. One, where else do you have 700,000 blind people signed up for anything? We are the largest network of blind people in the world. And two,
that's so true.
We are not some money-making corporation. We are always, and we're committed to making this access free of charge to the user. And that has an appeal that really, I think, Meta grasped.
Yeah. Can I ask the response from the community? This is going to sound like a stupid question, I know, but were you at all surprised by the amazing response you've had since the Connect event? You can say no.
Well, I'll go first. I mean, one of the responses is, how the hell did you pull this off? You know, how do you get a
Yes,
trillion-dollar company to really take seriously the needs of blind people worldwide? And then there's gratitude. There will be hiccups along the way. The current version of these glasses aren't perfect, but they are amazing and will do many, many things. But like Mike said at the beginning, this isn't just about these glasses this day. It's about a relationship that's ongoing with development, with looking far into the future, with blind people and blind organization being at the table in a productive way. And so that's the feeling I'm getting from the community.
Yeah. Not at all surprised, Shaun, but humbled, right? Like Bryan and I talk about this a lot with Hans and our team. Like we have an outsized responsibility now, don't we?
Mhm.
Like this is like I'm excited, right? But I'm also humbled and also appropriately fearful or trepidatious, if that's even a word. I don't
Yes.
know, but about like now we need to deliver,
Mhm.
and now we need constant iteration and constant improvement and feedback loops, and like announcements are great, right? Right? But
Yep.
somebody's going to buy these and get pissed off at some functionality that isn't there, and then we're going to have to figure out how to build it.
Mhm.
That'll be
Right?
Stephen. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, it's a lot of weight to carry on your shoulders because, I went on social media immediately after the Connect event and everyone is just, overjoyed, so excited. But as you mentioned, at the same time, that's a lot to live up to, right?
And we will disappoint on certain fronts, right? Be My AI is not integrated today, right? And there are limitations, as you know, as a user of these glasses, Shaun. There are limitations on field of view, right? There are
Yeah.
limitations on OCR and the need to hold sort of a 12-point font document like 6 inches away from your eyes rather than further away, which you can do with a phone. And so there's going to be an education and an experience that the blind community will need to figure out and play with and experiment with, and some of it will disappoint. But gosh, I'm still really optimistic about where this is going to go.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah,
And
me too.
and also that this is informed by a desire of the blind community not to be going around wearing a science project, but going around with actually stylish glasses and looking like we are not separate or othered. We're using strange technologies. In the end, we're just going to join the universe of people who aren't blind, who are also using these glasses. And that's the world we want to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so used to standing out anyway, be it with a white stick, a guide dog, or whatever it may be, and wearing these, this technology on our heads, that sometimes doesn't really fit in. It's nice to have, how should I say, a standard pair of sunglasses that people don't really notice. It makes all the difference. So let's talk about actually the other aspects here. So where we are right now is that eventually, as was announced, we'll be able to make a call to a Be My Eyes volunteer. And it's all going to be hands-free, nice and easy, great implementation. But you mentioned it yourself. This is just the start. So, of course, everyone is asking about Be My AI because, as you mentioned, Mike, the current Meta AI, as we've been using so far on the Meta Ray-Bans, there are limitations, especially for us in our community, the inability to read entire text of a document and, the over cautious, I would say, I cannot give safety advice. Is there something in front of me? That's all I want to know. Am I going to fall over something? Those sort of things do limit the usefulness for us. So where do you see this going? Is that the logical next step is to bring Be My AI in some form to the Meta Ray-Bans?
Yeah, look, it's already been discussed overtly with Meta. And so I I think the answer is yes. And what model we use will be dependent on what's best for our community, right? Um, OpenAI has been very good to us. Llama is improving quickly. Anthropic's Claude is a great model, right? Like it's our job to figure out how best to, to pull from either multiple models or the model that best serves our community. But the short answer to your question is yes, we're going to go for a fuller AI integration. Beyond that, we have already telegraphed to Meta some of our desires, and they're open to all of this, by the way, which is inclusion in our customer service product, right? So be able to interact with our paying customers, the Microsofts, Googles, and others of the world on the customer service front. Eventually, that we think that this will be incorporated into multiple other products that we launch because of the consumer's desire to have a hands-free experience for multiple things. And so all I can say is our roadmap and plans are extensive. Keep in mind that Meta is a big and powerful beast. And so we've got to, we may have to bring them along the way and convince them of things, but like they are bought into the need for enhanced accessibility and these glasses as really a conduit to greater accessibility. So, Bryan and I have a ton of optimism here, but it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. And there's the phrase that the AI you use today is the worst AI you will ever use. And it's true. It is changing so quickly. One of the things that was very hopeful that Zuckerberg said in his address yesterday was the open source nature of his model. And that, for me, raises all kinds of interesting possibilities. Can we train these models to give us guidance the way we want guidance, to give us descriptions the way we want? Can we have it be trained so that a low vision person can get cues only about the small things and not about the big things? The sky is the limit here with this. And so, we are taking the long view, Mike and I and the rest of the Be My Eyes team. We will get there. If you're at the table, all things are possible. And we're going to be at the table this afternoon, Mike. You'll be seeing some of the technology up close and personal.
Yeah, there's one other thing I would share with you, Shaun, and maybe some evidence for why Bryan and I are optimistic. And apparently, there's a process at Meta Engineering where you as a developer or a machine learning expert can raise your hand to kind of volunteer to be put on certain projects. And I was told by several senior people at Meta that this was the most requested body of work by Meta engineers that they've ever seen before. So
really,
yeah. So that like knowing that there's that enthusiasm at Meta internally, it again gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, that's so positive. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Stephen and I were talking. I think it was yesterday or whenever we were talking about the Meta Connect event and the possibility of Be My AI. But that's the reason I clarified what was on the table at the moment, because I've seen a lot of talk on social media about the Be My AI aspect, and we're not there yet. But the point is, we were talking about, does the Llama 3.2 model, which was demoed at the Connect event, which was really impressive, the natural speaking and the multimodal model, I love saying that, by the way, the multimodal model of visual, and it was even mentioned of video as well, processing. Do you think that actually takes a bite out of the Be My AI apple pie, if you like? Is that really take the place of Be My AI?
I mean, it's
or do you offer something extra?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could, right, on a certain level. But like, Shaun, but we're agnostic in terms of what's best for the community. Keep in mind that we don't like make money off you doing more Be My AI sessions. So we have no business imperative to say only use us and don't use anybody else, right? We want you to use what works best for your life. The reason Be My AI is not going to go away is the model's really good, right? And it's been tweaked in a little bit to work really well for our community. The other thing is, as phenomenal as the Ray-Ban Meta glasses are, there are battery life issues, right? A couple of hours probably, maybe a little more depending on how you use it, maybe a little less. And so there's this concept in called Jevons law, though, and what Jevons law says is when you introduce a new technology, you tend that works really well. You tend to increase overall consumption, right? So even if like newer, better, cheaper model comes along, you're probably going to see increased consumption across models, across devices. By the way, keep in mind, we thought that Be My AI would end up reducing the human to human calls for volunteers, and the opposite has actually occurred, right? And that's probably because we're attracting more people to our platform, to the technology generally. And so we haven't seen a reduction in our call volumes. And I think this will play out similarly.
That's very interesting. I suppose the option to make that quick call with a volunteer from inside the Be My AI conversation as well must have helped. You know, if you're not sure, you want to double check what the AI is giving you, that ability to quickly jump to a human is really cool. I got to say, I use that all the time.
Yeah, trust barriers are there. And let's be honest, like sometimes it's nice to have a human connection, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And society will keep serving up inaccessible things for which the AI models are not yet trained or cannot interpolate. And so the volunteer feature will always be with us. It makes for a really rich ecosystem of tools for the average blind user who can just choose what works.
Yeah, we were so used to having that toolbox, as we call it, right? It's another tool. Yeah, absolutely. So where are we at right now as to when can I play with this? I'm assuming it's already out in beta and someone's testing it out, but when will it be released officially?
Yes, we do have a couple hundred beta testers that are putting it through its paces.
A couple of hundred? Where was I? This is a disgrace, Mike.
And maybe we can edit that out. Love you, Shaun. Sorry.
Okay.
This year is our plan, and hopefully well before the end of this year. I think Meta has asked us to like kind of proceed with caution here on a specific date. But I hope it's less than 2 months. I hope that's what we're shooting for, but I'm not going to make the promise yet, but that's what we hope.
And how final is the beta release at the minute? Is there anything you think we really need to fix that before? Or is it a case now you're just waiting for the green light, basically, to go ahead with it?
I think what we've learned is that you can always make it better, right? And that's not just this product. That's almost any product. And the fact that we're getting feedback literally every day on either a bug or something that doesn't work as well as it could suggests to me, Shaun, that we're going to continue working on this every day until launch day. And by the way, every day after that. But right now it's working. It's usable. It's reasonably quick and seamless. I am super excited that by double tapping a button on the glasses, you can seamlessly switch from the glasses to your phone camera, if that's something you want and need, which I think is a really potentially valuable item, because you may want to change perspective or utility, or perhaps the camera on the phone has better resolution for a particular need. So really excited about that. But like we are in iteration everyday mode right now.
And we certainly quashed hundreds and hundreds of bugs in July and August when we were in heavy development. But one thing I do want to say is the huge involvement of blind people, both blind employees of Meta, sighted employees of Meta who took all these volunteer calls around the clock, the Be My Eyes, hundreds of beta testers, and then other testing efforts in other parts of the world involving blind people as well. So this product got lots and lots of diverse blind opinions. And I think we will press this technology in these glasses as far as they can be pressed.
Oh, I'm sure you will. We've seen it time and time again. Absolutely amazing. Again, guys, I've got to say, the work that you're doing, I sound like such a fanboy, but I don't think you've stepped a foot wrong so far. Everything just seems so positive. And by the reaction in the community, I think you've got so much support, and you just keep surprising us every time. On that note, I do want to say, how did you keep it so quiet? I mean, we kept asking you and you wouldn't tell us anything. And now I hear there's hundreds of beta testers out there that didn't say a word. What were you doing?
I cannot believe this didn't leak.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I can't. I mean, credit to the blind and low vision beta testers. Public thank you to every one of you, not only for your very direct and important feedback, but holy cow, you kept it quiet. I don't know how that happened. It's shocking to me.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened as well. We tried our best.
Shaun,
we couldn't get anything out of you.
Shaun, I mean, I always learn something from talking to you. I mean, you're a user of the glasses right now. What are kind of your impressions? Like, what do you like them for? Where do they still need work from your perspective?
Well, I'm fairly recent to the Meta Ray-Bans. I've had these about 6 weeks now. And I actually, after using them for about a month, I did come on and I did have a little bit of a rant. And I said, actually, I don't think these are the blind glasses that we've all been looking for. And let me give that a caveat. I think they are. The design and build quality is fantastic. I love the charging case. I love the controls, so responsive. They work really well, better than anything I've used. Audio is absolutely amazing. Cameras are great. Voice control is fantastic. The AI is where I was disappointed because I was trying to read a menu. And that not being able to read the entire thing was a little bit disappointing. But then I should have curbed my expectations on that a little bit. And also the look and describe, are there any obstacles on the sidewalk in front of me? And so often I did get that response of, I'm sorry, I cannot give medical or safety advice. Now, I totally understand that for liability reasons. But as I mentioned earlier, for our use case, that's not really helpful.
Yeah.
So that was the limitations. And as I said, it was purely down to AI. Now, I have noticed, I think, over the last week, and I did ask my glasses, what version of Llama are you running? And it says 3.1 now. And I have noticed that if I add in detail, look and describe what's in front of me in detail, it does give me far more detail. It does seem to have got more verbose. So I don't know if I've seen in my time using them a jump in the versions or not.
Yeah.
But something definitely seems to have changed here. And with the demo of 3.2, I'm starting to get very excited by it.
Yeah, you said two really important things that I want to make sure that the folks that watch Double Tap and listen to Double Tap really appreciate. The first is that the improvements are already coming and they will continue to come at, I think, a fairly rapid pace. Let's all remember when Be My Eyes launched Be My AI with the first installments of GPT-4, how many errors it had, right? Mm-hmm. How many hallucinations, which have been dramatically reduced. I think you'll see the same thing on the Llama model on the glasses. So that's an important thing that you stated that people should really embrace.
Mm-hmm. And Shaun, I noticed exactly the same things that you noticed. Our team is acutely aware of them. We will do what we can with the optics and the glasses that we have, and we know that more improvements are coming. This is a company that really relishes honest feedback, and I thank you for giving it. We're getting there, so thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, the point of it is, I'm still wearing these every time I leave the house. That tells you everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. These are absolutely fantastic glasses. I think my expectations were a little bit too high and a bit unrealistic when it came to, comparing them to other glasses, other AI systems out there. But as you said, even in the past week, I've seen improvements in the AI. And now I've seen where, the next generation is going with that conversational LLM and, the multimodal model. I'm even more excited. These are definitely the best ones to go for right now. I've kind of changed my mind on that. I'm so excited, as is the rest of the community, it seems.
The second thing that you said in your prior comment, Shaun, is about, how you asked it to give more detailed descriptions. I think it's really important that you and Stephen and all of us continue to educate the community that the instructions that you give the AI, which we call prompting, right, are huge. We all have so much more power than we realize. I go on Facebook groups almost every night or talk to people every day about this. Someone said, I wish it could give me an answer in French. And I said, it can. You just need to ask it, right? Or you need to ask it to give you, broader descriptions or briefer descriptions or what you want. It's going to continue to get better and better to allow you to control the type, the style, the content, the manner in which you receive responses. Like you can really say like, hey, give me an answer that is steeped in sarcasm, and it will try to do it. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try that.
Yeah. Go try that on Be My AI, or make your answers very snarky, please. Like, and it will give its best shot.
It's like I'm on a call with Stephen. That'd be amazing.
Wow, we're beating up Stephen.
No, it's so true though. It just playing around with the phrasing of your questions. I noticed something because I was asking what side was a bin, a trash can on this path. And I've noticed that it tends to get the left and right mixed up as much as every human I ever talk to who try and give me directions do. But if I say, tell me where it is as in on a clock face, or, give me the positions of objects from left to right in the image I've just taken, then it gets so much better. And it's all about learning what works best for the particular question that you ask, right?
I think you put your finger on something really profound, which is we'll have ubiquitous AI, powerful, far less flawed than the early versions, all of this. But what a blind person is going to need, and what society is going to need in general, is a kind of literacy. In school, we're going to have to learn reading, writing, and questioning. How to manipulate this, how to get what you want out of like a limitless store of information. How do you get it presented the way that's going to be most meaningful to you? This is our future as blind people and as people.
Well, again, though, it shows all the work that you've done, with Be My AI, with the prompting and the tuning and the tweaking that you did, and with all the work of the beta testers when that process was going through, of making it more relevant. It just shows how important that tweaking is, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Again, thank you so much. So exciting. Keep up the great work, and thank you for joining us on Double Tap today.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us and for all the work that you and Stephen do for the community. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, first off, thank you so much to the guys for those kind comments about the show, but also just for being so open and honest with us. I mean, I always feel with Be My Eyes, you're getting what they really think. You never feel like you're getting marketing speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so important, though. It's almost refreshing, isn't it, when you hear him talking about that? And when Mike asked me about the limitations, of using the Meta Ray-Bans, I love that because it shows that they're not just pushing, hey, this is the way to go, right? They're interested in your opinion. And it's also shown by the beta testers that they the way they set up these groups, the way they handle the beta testing process is just so cool. Yeah. And by the way, to all you beta testers out there, you hundreds apparently of beta testers.
But you're not one.
Well done, you. You're doing a fantastic job. I'm very, very jealous.
No, I'm very jealous, but very grateful as well to do all the work they do. Not grateful to you, though, for chucking me under the bus about 3 times during that interview. I'll remember that. We'll have words about that later, priest.
If you're not there, it's fair game.
You can have a sarky conversation with your AI. Oh, yeah, it's just like talking to Stephen Scott. Yeah, thanks.
Well, there you go. There's a perfect example. That bit right there.
No, listen, again, just a wonderful conversation about where this is all going. And I'm very excited about the future of all this. I think for me, as much as I like the idea of Be My AI on there, and I like that idea, I think at this point, I'd much rather have the volunteers because there is a latency issue, right? I find this on a lot of these products. This can be a latency issue. And sometimes when you want to just get stuff done, just having a human being to talk to is a nice thing. And it's funny, it kind of flies in the face of everything that we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the latest tech, we're talking about AI, Meta pushing all this great stuff. Mm-hmm. And at the heart of what we're talking about today is human-to-human conversation. I think there's something quite special about that. I like that. I really love that, actually, that the they're still promoting it. And also what was interesting is Mike said in that interview, the number of volunteer calls has not gone down. In fact, it's probably gone up.
Yeah, and that was very interesting, actually, wasn't it? Because you would just assume, well, lots of people will just want to use the AI. And that's not, some people don't want to talk to a human being. There are numbers of people out there that say, I'd rather not talk to someone.
Absolutely.
So it's almost a balancing act of which way to go. But I think BMIs have really got this down pat. And let's not also forget that something that kept coming through was, this is just the start. This is, part of a long-term relationship going on. So, yeah, this is the first step. But I think lots of people are going to take advantage of this.
And they're in the room. That's the most important thing. Sometimes all we need is just to be in the room.
They barged their way in.
Yeah.
They bashed their way in.
I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Listen, that is it for today. We are back, of course, on Monday. We are going to be talking to a good friend of ours, Tim Dixon. He's back with us as he shares some of his insights from Site Village. He was attending the one in the north of England recently. So he is going to be here to tell us all about that. He's even recorded some video for us as well. He's a brave man.
He is. Excellent
so we'll get all that on Monday's show. Check that out. And of course, keep your feedback coming over the weekend. Check out the website over the weekend. If you've nothing to do and you say, where's Double Down? Well, go to the website. There's tons there.
Does anyone ever say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mainly me. DoubleTapOnAir.com. We'll catch you Monday. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.